Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 3DO Experience, the 3DO retrospective podcast where we talk about all things 3DO, the company, and everything in between. I am Bill, and this is Thrak. How you doing, Thrak?
Well, Bill, I am darn tootin' excited for this week. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's we had yesterday off, so this is kind of my Monday, but we have a guest for this episode. Casey's back. How you doing, Casey?
Hey, thanks for having me back, Bill. Thrak, good to see you.
Oh, always good to see
doing
you.
Great.
I remember when we first met when we did episode 3 way back when. I know the games we're going to be covering today, you would specifically highlighted as some of the ones you wanted to join for.
Heck yeah, I love the rootin' tootin' cowboy craziness and a full motion video game to boot. I'm all in.
Nice. Yeah. It's been a slow week gaming wise. Hasn't been a ton of news or anything crazy lately.
Well, Nintendo dropped the Wii Sports in the music app.
The music app is awesome.
I like it in theory, but I just hate the fucking drip feed. Like, they're gonna drip feed the music app. Like, come on, man.
Yep.
It's like that part I do not like. The extended playback is a great feature, but it like not every game, not every song has it.
Mm-hmm.
And like even like say like I love Sticker Brush Symphony from Donkey Kong Country 2. That doesn't have an extended playback, and it's like, why not? It makes no sense. It has a lot of weird quirks about it that are dumb and make no sense. So typical Nintendo. But So my guess is probably in a year or a year and a half, it'll be great. But we're still waiting on that, unfortunately.
I hope so. Like, the cynical part of me feels like part of the reason why they made this thing was just so they had an excuse to DMCA a bunch of YouTubers. But
see, eventually, if they put everything on here, that'd be fantastic. You know, it's just like the selection of games they had at the start. I'm just like, this is very strange, and they have like this drip feed where they're just throwing random shit in there. It's just like, again, I don't understand the thought process behind it, because it's like the music app, you know, unless they are like paying these like the composers behind the scenes for this, because they're not crediting them on any parts of the music app, which I don't like that either. You know, like they're crediting the fake Splatoon 3 bands, but they're not crediting Koji fucking Kondo. Like, what are you doing, guys?
Yeah,
you
like
know?
in the Animal Crossing soundtrack, they credit all of them to KK Slider. I'm like, that's cute,
like,
but
yeah. Poor David Wise.
Yeah,
but I guess the counter argument is we all know who did these. You know, like if you have the app, you have to be subscribed to NSO, so there's a good chance you know who they are. But that's still a dumb excuse, you know. Like people need to know these names, you know. But Nintendo's been weird about crediting people lately, especially with like their games and everything. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I just laugh because like they're so weird about announcing like they added new music too. Like, I always find out just because someone's like, oh yeah, they added new music to Nintendo Music. I'm like, oh, what'd they add?
Like people just like they don't say anything, that people just check. Like every day I'll just be like, is there anything new? Nope.
I still thought the funniest was when a friend of the show, Will, was like, hey, they added new music to Nintendo Music. I was like, oh, cool. What is it? And I scroll open and I see it's Mario Wonder, and I just went, oh, I don't care anymore. And I just immediately like turned it off.
I know. Like that's the thing. We have the soundtracks for 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy on that 3D All-Stars, but they're not in this.
Yeah.
Like the one time I actually would listen to them is on that music app. I don't get it.
I mean, I was disappointed that they didn't put the Smash music in, at least Smash Ultimate, but that kind of encompasses every Nintendo game. Anyway,
and there's a lot of different like composers on there as well.
Yeah, the version. I mean, they got some Mario Kart music, which is cool, but
I do like the Mario Kart 8 soundtrack. That is a bitchin' soundtrack.
And I can listen to Aquatic Ambiance for however long I want to. So
that's an example of a game with a song with the extended playback that makes a lot of sense. Like,
oh yeah,
that drifting for an hour is magical.
It's good. It's good.
Poor 3DS. Poor 3DS fans.
No 3DS, no Wii U technically, no Game Boy Color, no Virtual Boy. Like, not a lot. There's some decent soundtracks on there.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
not a lot to show in like the other ones as well. Like NES has Mario 1 and then both versions of Metroid.
Mm.
Like you can just throw Zelda 1 in there, or Mike Tyson's Punch Out,
Ooh, that's one of my favorites. I love Mike.
It's a great soundtrack. Yeah, like I'm not expecting third party stuff, but you know, it's like one of my I like the GBA version of Mario 3. I like that soundtrack a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact we only have one GBA game, and it's like the Fire Emblem game. Like not even Advance Wars. Like Advance Wars has an amazing soundtrack for the GBA.
They're gonna just feed all of those to you, Thrag, very very slowly.
I mean, they seem to be a little bit. At least they're doing like at least one a week. At least that's what seems to be the cadence, which I mean is fine, I guess. But again, it feels like they're just throwing darts at a dartboard. They're like, okay, we'll do this one now. You know,
we'll really surprise them with this.
Yeah, I don't. Again, I like it. In concept, it's amazing, but in practice, it's not great. You know,
I'm just waiting for next week when it's like fucking Gyromite or something. It's like, oh boy.
Rad Racer.
Well, that'd be kind of cool because Nobuo Uematsu did that soundtrack.
Yeah. He did, yeah. So
I could just see like Gyromite, like 2 tracks. It's like, yay.
And then
did they throw Tetris in there? Is Tetris even in that?
It probably won't be. Tetris is its own thing.
Yeah.
So probably not. I mean, Dr. Mario would have been nice. We have the Game Boy Dr. Mario, which is okay, but I like the NES Dr. Mario soundtrack more.
Mm.
Like if they ever do like the Paper Mario soundtracks, those would be.
Or the Mario and Luigi.
They're coming. Christmas is coming, Thrag. Christmas is coming.
I hope so. But once again, Sega stay winning, all right? Because Sega just has their shit on all the streaming services. And while they don't have everything, there's a lot of like, if you go like Sega Sound Team, they have a lot of stuff, like old and new stuff. Like they have like all the Outrun soundtracks. And the Outrun soundtracks are fucking brilliant, especially for when they did Outrun 2 and they had like live band instrumentation of like all these classic tracks. So good. Love it. Yeah. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Exactly.
Well, even my favorite punching bag of a company, Bamco, put all the freaking Tales series soundtracks on Spotify finally. So
yeah. I like the Symphonia soundtrack. I really like. So
Suspiria, that's a good one. Abyss, like all of them, really.
Oh yeah, all really, really good stuff. The only other stuff news-wise I saw was as Spyro is finally in Game Pass.
Oh, nice!
Finally, I downloaded it this morning and have been messing around with it. I mean, I've beaten these games already. I love these games to death, so this just gives me a reason to play them on my Xbox and get all the achievements. So very happy about that. See, they've been drip feeding the Activision stuff on Game Pass, which could be. I've theorized before that like when they got Bethesda, they put every Bethesda game on there, and that was cool, but it kind of like wore off real quick. So maybe they're just trying to do a drip feed, but also it could be maybe like legal things, you know, so they don't get in trouble. Potentially, I don't know, but hopefully we get more Activision stuff. You know, like where's Prototype? Where's Crash Team Racing? Where's Tony Hawk? You know, these kind of things. Where's all the old COD games? I want to play all the old COD games. Damn it.
Well, I mean, I was surprised that the Black Ops 6 is on it.
Yeah, that's how I played.
Kind of a bold move, and good for me because I wasn't going to buy it. But
me either. I played the campaign on it, so
I heard it was, I heard it was great, but I just can't not click multiplayer. So that's on me.
It is what it is. So, and then the only other thing I have was apparently Rockstar just like dropped like a big patch for the GTA trilogy. 3 years later, they finally fixed things with like lighting and like controls and a lot of stuff. There's like a whole list of patch notes, and from what I've seen and what it sounds like, it might actually be worth buying now. They may have actually took them 3 years to fucking fix it, but there we are. That's the gaming industry nowadays.
Better late than never.
Yeah. So I mean, it seems what they did with the lighting, like it looks, especially Vice City, looks a lot better now. So. Maybe I'll get it for like $10.
Well, meanwhile, me, Mr. Sony fan over here is just like, I just like something, anything.
Anything.
The PS5 Pro came out.
Hey,
after something.
Yeah, the 3DO's back.
I've seen. I looked at some reviews of the PS5 Pro, and people are like, "It's some games. It actually does do stuff." Other games, it doesn't really do much. Like the overall thing is like it's neat, but is it worth the price tag and worth the upgrade? Not really. Not really.
Especially considering most people don't even use their PS5s to play PS5 games at the moment.
Yeah, and it's like they're trying to do like the push to 8K, which is like 8K is not really it's not really a thing.
Most people don't even have 4K TVs at this point.
Exactly. So. Like if we could get every game 1080p 60 first, then maybe we can look at 4K, but we're not even there. So I don't know.
It's interesting. I'm really disappointed in Sony and what they've done with the whole VR support. I'm a big VR fan, so I kind of feel like VR2 is abandoned, or Sony's VR endeavors were kind of abandoned, and as a VR fan, that kind of hurts a little bit because I was a huge fan of the VR2, and I thought it was one of the best headsets in the market. But unfortunately, there's just nothing to play on it that I can't get through Meta or Steam. So,
can you hook it up to your PC?
So I heard that you can hook it up to your PC now via some sort of an adapter, and I haven't tried it yet. I just don't care. It just sits and collects dust.
Yeah, the VR was never like my thing. I've never like really sat down and tried it, but there hasn't been enough to make it like worth appealing. You know what I mean? Like if I bought a VR set, what would I play on it? I would play Half-Life Alyx, Resident Evil 4 VR,
absolutely,
Beat Saber, some fucking random golf game, and then
maybe Tetris Effect, just for the
Tetris Effect.
That's a fun
yes,
game. Yeah, that's absolutely a lot of fun.
Like I love that game. I would play that in VR for sure.
There's a lot of good game. Until You Fall is a really cool game. It's like a roguelike sword fighting game where you've got to get different swords. It's almost like, it's a really bad analogy, I guess, but kind of like Hades, where you have to go and you get like new weapons every time you die and stuff like that. That's a really cool game. Pistol Whip's really cool, but they all kind of, not all of them, but they're kind of similar-ish. But you are wearing a Minnesota Vikings jersey, and a wonderful game is NFL Pro Era, which is
there's a football game on there.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and you're the quarterback. And you're reading plays on your wrist and throwing the ball, having the receivers run routes and stuff. It's really cool. Cool. And then another one that's a lot of fun that's very exciting is one that gosh, my brain is going blank right now. But the Top Golf put out, and it used to be called Pro Putt, but I think it's just Top Golf now. And you sit there and
I work for that company.
Oh, really? Oh my gosh. It is one of the coolest games because I mean, not only can you sit there and do the driving range thing, but like you can actually do tutorial videos that help you with your swing and stuff. And I still think it actually has improved my physical golf game. And then the boxing games are a lot of fun. Thrill of the Fight's amazing. Creed Rise to Glory is a good one. So there's a lot of cool stuff. What I like about VR is also the games are a lot cheaper because they're a lot shorter, obviously. But yeah, Resi 4 was just fantastic.
Yeah,
Half-Life Alyx is awesome.
Yeah, like there's some cool stuff in there. It's just I don't know how much I would play of it, and I don't know if I would get motion sickness from it or not. You know what I mean? Fair. Which is something I worry about because
totally fair. A lot of people have that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to get a Meta one of these days and try it out. I mean, my PC isn't really strong enough for these kind of games, so that's kind of the issue. But eventually, I'll give VR a try, and I'll let you know. It's a shame with that NFL game they didn't revive the Quarterback Club name because that would have been a perfect name for it.
That would have been so cool. That's a missed opportunity right there.
Yeah, because it fits the game. And if you're old like us, we it's like, oh, I remember that series. That series sucked. Yeah. But the new kids would be like, yeah, Quarterback Club.
It could be cool.
Yeah. I've tried playing the Quarterback Club games recently. They're not as good as like Madden was back in the 90s or even like the Sega Sports NFL games, which they were finding their footing like the pre-2K days. They were still trying to figure it out, but But that's back when, football games were plentiful and full of different.
Yeah. Phasmophobia, if you want to get scared. That's coming to Game Pass soon, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, or has it already released? I'm not sure, but
I haven't seen it on Game Pass. No, but yeah, that's
my
another
kids
one.
were all excited. They're like, "Oh, Phasmophobia is coming to Xbox." I'm like, "You are not going to play that." Or maybe
I
they
saw.
will, I don't know.
I saw that Inscription hit Game Pass, and that's a game that a friend of mine really recommended. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. So because this week is Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D's remakes release.
Yeah.
I've pre-ordered it. The moment it arrives, it's just all I'm going to be playing. So I'm very excited.
That's one that I've definitely missed the boat on. Dragon Quest is one that I haven't done a lot of playing on.
Well, that's. Well, 3 HD 2D remake would be a good starting point.
If I can remember all of that by the end, I will definitely check it out. It's like Kingdom Hearts. It's like 1.5 HD remix. It's like which one? Which one is it? HD HD remix? Is it?
Well, at least the lore isn't confusing.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Dragon Quest's lore is pretty easy to follow.
that's good because Kingdom Hearts like lost me a long time ago, and I still play the games. I don't care. I act like I know what I'm doing, who I'm talking to. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, one of these days I'll sit down and play the entire series. I've only ever played one, Chain of Memories, and 2.
Okay. Yeah, I think 3 is when I officially hopped on.
I mean, by then you're already, the story's such a mess by then anyways. It's like, yeah, why not?
Yeah, at that point nobody cares, man.
Nobody knows. Nobody cares.
See, the best starting point is Birth by Sleep because that's technically the start of it. So it's like, perfect.
Yeah,
is that one of the 3DS?
That was the PSP one. It was part. PSP. They put it on like HD Collection 2, I think.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that game's deep. That game's deep.
But yeah, I think we've waffled on enough for this episode. I think now it's time to get into our topic for this episode. For this episode, we're venturing into the world of full motion video, and we thought the best place to start was a game that we kind of set into motion because I happened to find this at a random game store like a couple of months back, and Thrak had immediately bought the Wii collection at the same time, and then of course I got this today, so we're just all sorts of fun going on here. But we're talking about the Mad Dog McCree series of games by American Laser Games for this episode.
American Laser Games. What a fucking company name. I love it. It's so industrial, right? You know, like it sounds like a factory where they work with like lasers and shit. You know,
they were also located in like the greatest place ever, Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah,
the greatest Weird Al song.
Yeah. And I believe they filmed most of the scenes in New Mexico, which perfectly makes sense for this kind of game.
I mean, that's probably where they got the idea for the game. You know,
honestly.
Because my guess is I wouldn't know. I've never been to that part of the country, but I imagine the Old West iconography lives in like New Mexico and Arizona and, you know, Nevada, you know, those kind of deserty places, you know, there's probably a lot of remnants of the Old West.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up thinking that the game was filmed in at Old Tucson, where I'm from. So we've got a lot of that. You know, especially in Arizona, we've got Tombstone, we've got Old Tucson, we've got a lot of callback to that Old West. So, you know, that's what I grew up thinking. But yes, the game was mostly filmed in New Mexico. American Laser Games, from what I read so far, is actually started out as a police training company. They were building interactives to train the police on how to engage shooting situations, and then the person who owned it, Bill, you probably know it. Thrak, maybe know the name of the person. I can't remember, but decided, hey, this could be used for entertainment and not just training purposes. So that's kind of where American Laser Games was born. At least that's the story I read. So
the company was founded by Robert Grebe. I believe his name was.
Or Grabe.
Or Grabe.
I don't know. You never know.
You know, it's interesting with American Laser Games to me because they always seem to get overshadowed by like their probably closest contemporary was probably Digital Pictures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Digital Pictures to me, like, I always found their games to be like so bad they're great. Like
I feel like Digital Pictures takes themselves a little too seriously. You know what I mean? Like
my thoughts with them, like because like American Laser Games, they clearly know that they're being cheesy as fuck, and they're just going with it, and that's kind of
how I viewed it was like Digital Pictures is like those famous B movies that you find that like when you watch it, you're like, oh no, they took this seriously. It's just funny in hindsight.
It's like The
right?
Room. It's like he fully intended that to be serious.
Yeah, but this, like, the tongue is firmly in cheek. They know exactly what they're doing, and I think that makes it even more kind of enjoyable. You know, because I guess before they were American Laser Games, they were called ICAT, the Institute for Combat Arms and Tactics. And yeah, I could imagine them using the similar technology for Mad Dog McCree that they had for like the police training simulators, where they would probably like film like a combat scenario or whatever, and then have like a light gun for them to like, you know, do the practicing on. And then and then they're probably like, this is just like an arcade game. And someone went, wait, we could do that, you know? So, and that was sort of the birth of Mad Dog McCree. Apparently, the game had a budget of $125,000. I don't know why we know that, but apparently we do. And yeah, like filming around the desert of their studio makes a lot of sense for them to do like an Old West type of game, you know? Like there was quite a bit of Old West in the early 90s, you know, like Sunset Riders was big in the arcades at the time, I assume. So it would make sense to do something in this way. I've never seen one of the arcade machines in person, but I've looked at like photos of them, and they're huge. Like huge. The monitors are like 50 plus inches or whatever, and that was like the old tube TVs, you know. And they would have the gun and all that. And those look really fucking cool and probably really hard to maintain. Like I guarantee you, there's at least one or two of them out in the world that some dude has in his garage that he like takes care of on a daily basis because he's like, this was my childhood, man. Like I need to preserve this for the world.
So we have a restaurant out here called Pinnacle Peak, and it's a steakhouse with a cowboy theme. They have a whole town around it. Really cool place. But they had one of those cabinets for the longest time. And when we started talking about this episode, I ran over there to see if I could get some film of it, and it was gone. So I don't know if my memory was like, well, you haven't been to the steakhouse in like 5-6 years, maybe it went away sometime in there, but they have like an old timey arcade in there that has like a full shooting gallery as well. So they've got the whole thing where you shoot the piano player and he starts playing the tune and all that. But for the longest time they had a Mad Dog McCree cabinet there. But also our Old West, it was a studio, Old Tucson Studios, where a lot of these Westerns are filmed, also had the full-size cabinet there, and that's kind of where I saw it for the first time way back in the 90s, and thought it was the coolest thing. In fact, I think the original push for that was to get a Sega CD, because I know it also launched on that. So I had it for Sega CD as well as 3DO, but those arcades were just the coolest thing because you had to actually holster the gun and do the quick draw stuff, and it was so much fun. And they were also like $1 to play, which was like astronomical back then for quarter machines. You're either throwing a quarter in regular Pac-Man or some of those lower games, and like 50 cents for like the Street Fighters and Mortal Kombats. This was like a full-on dollar, man. It was so much money, but it was such a cool thing to see.
They're trying to get their money back, I guess, because it must have been like a big. Because I mean, it's. I wouldn't say the production value is super high, but you could tell that they did put some money into it, you know, like building like a set, like a Western set. I don't know if they actually built it or not, but like getting that old timey thing and then like having to grab all the actors from the local like community theater, because that's what it feels like. They just went to the Improv or like, low budget acting, be like, hey, you guys want to do this? Like, come over here, Well, so like leave your SAG card at home. You'll be fine.
The guy who played Mad Dog, I believe, was just like a ranch owner out.
Just some dude.
Just some dude. And then the lady who hands you the keys in the bar is his wife.
Yeah.
I guess
when you go into the saloon and that lady walks by, because the bartender hands you the keys.
I mean, it's like some of the other games that we previously discussed where they're just like, hey, roommate, come over here, do some karate.
And funnily enough, you mentioned that because American Laser Games is connected to Way of the Warrior, apparently.
one of the best games 3DO ever put.
No. This game is much better. Though I will say, I did not play the 3DO version of this. I watched some gameplay of it, and like 10 seconds of this on 3DO was enough for me to go, fuck this. Because the idea of playing any light gun rail shooter with a D-pad, no thank you. I'm good. I'm all right. Like somehow T2, the arcade game, was able to get away with it, but like this,
so
no thank you. So I played it on my Wii with a Wii remote, and that was a much smoother experience.
I will say, I played this for about an hour, and I immediately went to my PS3 and downloaded the collection on PS3.
You played that for an hour?
Yeah, I was dedicated.
Well, I need to ask, does the D-pad have like a sensitivity slider or setting?
If there is one, I didn't find it.
How slow is it?
It's about what it looks like on the screen. It's very much like it's the reason why we didn't like Starblade very much. It was like, this is not designed for this. Like,
I mean, even holding the C button while you're moving the controller pad around was just it's not fast enough. Unless you have every location memorized.
I was actually tempted to buy the light gun just for this, but then I realized it won't work on my TV anyway. So I was like, yeah.
I had the light gun. I was that kid. I had to have the light gun.
See, I would have had the light gun for this at the time, but yeah, like modern TVs just don't want to work with those kind of guns, so it's kind of pointless. And that's kind of the issue with playing these type of games, you know, because I mean, just about all these games have PC ports, you know, so you can play them on, you know, with a mouse, which makes them like the easiest game ever. But you know, but to be fair, you're not necessarily here for the gameplay, you know, because the gameplay is
your typical rail shooter.
Yeah, it I think it tries to be a little different by not having every scene sequenced perfectly, you know, because I was used to, say, in other ones where you would just be like, oh, the guy comes here and then down there. And they do it occasionally. They'll have like set pieces, but then there'll be other ones where it's like, oh, there's like 6 or 7 different people and they all show up kind of randomly. And you have to try your best to memorize it, which allows for some variety. But I think the game's like, at least on the Wii version, I found the hit detection to be incredibly inconsistent.
That's one thing they actually fixed on the PS3 version. They fixed the hitboxes a bit.
Yeah, because the hitboxes are kind of strange. And like the timing is weird as well. You know, like how much time they give you to shoot. Like most of the time they give you 2 shots. Like if you don't hit them in 2 shots, then you're dead basically.
Yeah. Like the Wii version, I think, infamously had some hitbox jank, because I actually when I was doing my research for this game, I came across the Game Grumps playthrough, and oh boy,
that is an amazing playthrough. That's how I discovered there was Wii versions of these, because I knew about Mad Dog McCree. First time I learned about him was, I think it's from Spoonie, back when he started talking about like FMV PC games. And I think it was, he eventually like reviewed, I think it was Johnny Mnemonic, the FMV PC game, but he has like a whole like 20-minute episode leading up to it where he talks about like all this stuff, and he brought up American Laser Games, you know, and he's like, oh, you play these to laugh at the cornball acting, which he's incredibly correct on. Like, they're fucking amazing, which we'll get to. But yeah, like the hitboxing is kind of weird.
It also, reloading is very weird.
I mean, it's like any other like gun game. You just shoot off screen, you know. Like if you just treat the Wii remote as just like a gun, it's like you just shoot off screen or whatever, and then like A or B is shoot, which is nice. You kind of get the 2 options. But you know, I beat it. I beat all 3 of these games on the Wii. They're beatable because playing them on there, it's essentially playing them in free play mode. You know, where you get your 3 lives, and then if you die, that's game over, but you can like continue basically like immediately. And with Mad Dog 1, you have to do the showdown. It's showdown time. You know, you got to do that before you can progress. And you get good at it. You kind of have to, you know, because the quick draw stuff was the stuff I struggled with the most by a wide margin. But thankfully on the Wii version, it's very forgiving in terms of like saving your progress, you know, and just letting you just do it until you eventually get it right anyways. So you can breeze through all these games in roughly like half an hour a piece.
Yeah, they're not super long at all. But,
Yeah.
They're arcade games.
Yeah, they were meant to gobble quarters, not to be longevity games.
Because I was thinking about that when I was playing Mad Dog 1. I was like, man, imagine putting in $1 every time I died. I would be so fucking pissed off.
Especially in the 90s. Like,
yeah, seriously. I couldn't imagine.
That might have been the value proposition to the parents was like, hey, if we buy this, it's going to be way cheaper than dumping $1 in each time. And I think we got it on like deep discount when 3DO was going out of business, and it was like $15 for that Mad Dog 2 with the rest of the collection.
Nice.
That's the way to go.
So gameplay wise, pretty standard. We mentioned before, the real reason you play these games is everything else. Like,
yes, and oh my god, I love it so much. I love it so much. It's so good. It's
like stupid, but like in that amazing way where you're like, I love this. Like,
yeah, well, to quote Game Grumps, it's very much like the Minnesota Fun Time Players. You know what I mean? Like it's that kind of jaunty, kind of corny, like they know it's silly kind of a thing, but that's what you're there for, you know? Like when people die, they stick their tongue out and go, ah, you know. Yeah.
or my favorite
slow-mo.
My favorite is during the tutorial. You missed one. Try another.
Exactly. You know, it's like the old prospector, you know. Be like, oh, stranger, you gotta take out Mad Dog. He's ruining the town, you know. All this crazy stuff, and it's so good.
The Game Grumps playthrough completely ruined the Undertaker for me, though, because anytime he pops up on screen,
yeah, he shot you.
Yeah, he just completely like messes with it.
I love that. That was like,
whoa.
I think that was like one of the first games that I experienced where when you die, you get taunted.
Yes,
you know, and I loved it. Like, I don't know why. It was just something so different. Like they were just reminding you how bad you were at this game.
I mean, he tries to be kind of nice. You know what I mean? Where he's like, oh, I think you're going to pull through.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got one life left, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I couldn't imagine like playing this game on an arcade and seeing like that. You know what I mean? It's the whole like, if I could find the arcade version of this, I would have to like, you know, sorry, I'm a little sick, but I would like to. Yeah, I would put a lot of quarters into it just to kind of get that experience. You know.
I'll run down to Tombstone one of these days and see, because in the old town they've got, you know, all of the old bars and everything still, and I'd be disappointed if I didn't find one of these down there.
Yeah, that would be amazing. So
another
put that in the Discord if it happens. So good good plug for your Discord.
I'd love to see it.
Another great one for me is like when you go into town and the sheriff's there and he's like Mr. Mad Dog McCree, we don't need your kind here. And then it's like, hey, sheriff, and he gets shot and he's like, okay, maybe I spoke wrong. And it's like, oh geez.
It's a campy, you know, spaghetti western. It's so funny because those are so like, I don't know, as in Arizona, maybe this is, you know, a generalization, but like, you know, we love that stuff. I mean, I love that stuff. I grew up on the old westerns, you know, from John Wayne to Tombstone, you know, and so this kind of resonated with that. Plus, I mean, also thinking that it was in filmed here, like I was just grew up with that notion. You know, it made it like, oh, this is something that's made in my hometown, and it wasn't, but that's okay.
It's close enough, I think.
Close enough. 4-hour drive, it's fine.
Yeah, but like, it doesn't compare really to like the Hollywood Western films, especially at that time when they were trying to be like more serious and violent and all that stuff. Like this is just as like silly kids entertainment as it gets.
Yeah,
I love how there's like no blood, but you're still like mowing down like hundreds of
people.
Yeah, you're just mass murdering people at certain spots, you know, and it's
but there's
so
no blood,
good.
so it's like not violent at all.
Yeah,
and there are so many times where like the actor looks at the cameraman and not the camera.
One of my favorites
so obvious. And there's a couple times where you can see the shadow of the cameraman on the ground. You know, it's like you're like walking towards something. If you look, like you just see the camera guy just there.
Yeah.
Like there are these little sort of like mishaps, but it adds to the charm of it. Like it doesn't take away from it at all.
Yeah.
Like
You
one
know
of
what
my
I mean?
favorites is you're up on this like mountain, and this one guy jumps into screen, you shoot him, and rather than like falling down, he just jumps away, and it's like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
the stunt. I'm like impressed with the stunt work
Oh, yeah.
in these games. Like in the first, like Mad Dog, when you shoot the guy on the roof and then he rolls off the roof and smacks the ground, and I'm like, ooh, that did not look fun.
Yeah.
And I know that guy didn't get paid a lot to do that, but you know, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Or when you're in the bar and like you're just like shooting all the people up on the railing, the one guy just collapses through, and it cuts to like slow-mo, and he's like, no.
Exactly. They're
Yeah.
like they all have their own kind of thing. Like Mad Dog 1 feels like it doesn't do as much of like that crazy stunt work. It kind of accelerates as the series goes on and the production values get a little bit higher. But yeah,
Mad Dog 2 has like one of the best like ridiculous scenes ever, where the prospector's sitting on top of the TNT barrel, and he's like, shoot the fuse, Mad Dog, shoot the fuse.
Oh yeah.
And of course you want to see what happens if you don't shoot the fuse.
Yeah.
oh yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
And
I was
you
so
look
bad
really-
at shooting the fuse. I saw plenty of times.
The best part is if you look really close, the second it explodes, he changes into a dummy, and it's like, oh, there he goes.
Yeah, it's like that like one frame cut, you know, that if you're paying attention, you see the cut, but you know, I think most people wouldn't notice it.
There's also a scene where like a guy comes out of an outhouse, and then you shoot him.
Oh, you shoot him, he goes
Oh,
back
yeah.
in, he blows up,
It blows
and then
up.
you see him, and he's just like, that was a big one. Like, bitch, you just tried to shoot me. What are you doing?
I just love
like-
how he goes back in and it just
That's
explodes.
in
And
that's
I'm
in
like,
Last
what?
Bounty. Is that in Mad Dog 2? I think it's in Last Bounty Hunter.
Oh,
Because
maybe.
Last Bounty Hunter is the fucking silliest one of the three.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I love.
oh
Last
my
Bounty Hunter.
god, it is so funny. Oh my god, I was laughing the entire time. It was so good.
Whenever you shoot a civilian, it cuts to the.
You shot an innocent.
Yeah, you shot an innocent, and it's like just. Oh,
Well,
it's-
there was that
it's
one girl who's
true.
like, I just may start bawling.
Yeah.
Or the Asian one who's like, bad ruck. I think I sent you that one in a DM. I'm
Yeah.
like, are you fucking kidding me?
I was like, "Yup."
Mm-mm.
Like,
Or,
yeah, I sent Bill some quotes from this game.
Okay.
From that, yeah, there was oh yeah, where she says, you shot an innocent, bad ruck. And then oh, there was the one where it's when you're getting, I think it's Nasty Dan, and you're like shooting through the camp, and you cut to the cook, and he's just like, I didn't think the pasta was that bad.
I love. I think
I never shot him. A part of me wanted to shoot him to see what would happen, but I was like,
that-
I like him too much to shoot him.
that scene,
Oh.
just because in the Game Grumps playthrough, this happened to Aaron multiple times, but
He
the
shoots
scene,
the sheriff because he
Yeah,
leads with the
because he has
gun.
a gun, and it's like the game literally.
If it
teaches
wasn't for
you.
the game, if it wasn't for the Game Grumps playthrough, I would have done the same. I knew not to do it.
I did it anyways because he had a gun. I'm like, it's literally like programmed in
Yeah.
your head. If they have a gun, you shoot.
And again, that's another guy who, when you first see him, he's looking at the cameraman and not the camera. And it's like, dude, look at the fucking camera. You know, like you can tell it's very ragtag, you know, when them making these games, you know what I mean? Like Digital Pictures doesn't have any of those weird quirks to them, but like it doesn't reflect, you know what I mean? Like here, it's like you have these little follies and all that, and it's great.
I love when you get to Dirty Dan too, and he's like,
I may be captured, but I could still be very, very nasty.
I love too where he's like, I bet you can't shoot this cigarette out of my hand, and you just shoot it out of his hand. He's just like, oh, and he runs away,
Shit. Yeah, that's so funny.
and then his whole camp just explodes.
Yeah.
Everything blows up in the Last Bounty Hunter. It's great.
Oh yeah, and there was one, I forget which one it might have been Cactus Kid, when you like are shooting through the jail, and then like some dude comes out of it and he's just like, jailbreak, time for me to go.
That one's good.
That
I
made me
love
laugh
the,
every time.
I forget his name. The one that's like handsome something.
Handsome Harry.
Handsome Harry.
I shot him when I felt like, because he pulled the cane and I was like, oh, is that a cane shotgun? But I don't think it is. But I shot him anyways.
I love the girls are all playing poker with the guy, and he's like, I think dealer rigged the table, and he pulls out the gun, you shoot him, and then the game kind of stutters for a minute, and then he falls down, and then the girls like stand there for 3 seconds, and then they go, ah! Like right after.
Yeah, and then in that part, like some lady just says like, here, use this shotgun, because like there's the 3 guys up there. I mean, you shoot them.
My
Like
favorite
again,
too
like
is-
the timing of like when they set the enemies up to shoot is so random. Because yeah, it'll be like you can tell it's like mid-frame they stop, and it's like say the guy's like this close to the edge of the screen and they stop, and it's like that's not a good time to stop to shoot. And other times they give you way too much time. Like again, it's all very like flying by the seat of your pants.
I think another great one too is like once you finally finish Handsome Harry's thing, you shoot the guy and he falls over the craps table or the poker table, and then the barmaid walks by. She's like, we were gonna renovate.
You're gonna renovate anyway. God, it's so stupid, but it's so funny.
It's so good.
Who was the other? Oh, El Loco was the other one.
Yeah, El Loco. Yeah, but the one but then Mad Dog 2, like, cause Mad Dog 1, it's like you have the 4 areas that you can go to, and you kind of play them like in whatever order you want, really. Mm. But Mad Dog 2 tries to do something a little interesting, and you have the 3 different guides. Mm-hmm. Buckskin Bonnie, the Professor, and my favorite name ever, Shooting Beaver.
Shooting Beaver.
To quote Game Grumps, I wish that was the girl's name. But what's interesting about those is that like only one of them is like the good ending. Like the other 2, if you do the other 2, you'll do the whole rigmarole, get to the chest, and it won't have anything. And the game will be like, oh, you didn't do the right thing. But but the spoilers, Buckskin Bonnie is like the good ending, which is funny because I think most people chose her anyways, which I understand why. But yeah, but like Shooting Beaver, like that one is fun, when it's like, oh, it's weird, I'm killing all these natives. Like I find it weird that it's like if you choose the Native American guide, then it's like, oh, shoot a bunch of his like relatives, I guess.
I think they made fun of that on the Game Grumps episode.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm just
nothing about it aged well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of these games have not aged well.
Yeah. Well, and then the Game Grumps one is when you do the Professor, and that one guy's like, you're a cheat and a swindler. Like that stuff is good. And
I love the scene though during like Buckshot Bonnie where you like blow up this thing and the guy walks out and he's like, got a light, and just
got a light,
like the dude's holding Buckskin Bonnie, then you shoot him and he goes, nah, and then she grabs the dynamite. She's like, I got a short fuse too, stranger, and then throws it and then it blows up. And then the guy the got a light, like it's fucking Wile E. Coyote,
he just collapses down.
And I'm like,
I'm still trying to figure out how the guy with the arrow in his neck was still talking. I wasn't quite sure.
This is the map to the gold. The Padre has the other half, and he's just like riddled with arrows. Like, it's way too much. Like he would not be alive.
Oh my gosh,
it's so good, but it's so funny.
It's like, to me, like it's crazy because these games are all like digital pictures. Like you laugh because they're bad, but then these ones are like, you just get a chuckle because they are so extreme to the max.
Yeah, and that's just what's so entertaining about them, like you can tell they went in being like we're having fun with this. Like we don't need to, it doesn't have to be that serious, like it's kind of more memorable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it is like low budget, like just random actors and people, rinky dink sets, like the outfits aren't great, like a lot of people just saying like, are you looking at my key, stranger? Mad Dog, you don't stand a chance. Like that kind of acting.
I love the guy with like the English accent who's clearly not English at all.
Well, the Professor, he's robbing the train.
Maybe that guy.
I mean, that was cool. They like got a train, like an old timey train. Like that was cool. I kind of hated that sequence, because you shoot all the people and it doesn't feel right. But then you get to like the 50 cal gun, and beforehand the game teaches you like, oh, shoot the ammo box, not the dude. But that's the one time you have to actually shoot the dude, and it annoyed the shit out of me because I kept dying.
Yep.
But whatever.
It's a good game.
Yeah.
They're all fun. Like I wouldn't rate any of them higher than like a 6.5, really, and that's being kind of generous because like the gameplay isn't great. Like I was frustrated quite a bit of the time playing it, with like all the quick draw stuff and the way like none of that really feels good and the inconsistent hitboxes and all that stuff. Like playing these games is kind of frustrating, you know? Like there was a lot of times I shouted fucking bullshit at the screen.
Yeah.
I won't lie, but you hang with it because it's like it's so like silly and it's just so it's entertaining. So you deal with it. You know what I mean? Like I don't always play games for the story, but I stuck around for the story of Mad Dog McCree.
Yeah.
And basically, like the amount of it didn't matter how frustrated I was. The amount of times I got to hear that chef scream, I didn't think the beaver was that bad.
I didn't know the possum was that bad.
Possum. Yeah, possum. Just the sheer like
got a light.
The
So
sheer
funny.
just like jovial nature of every single person in this game. Like you can tell everyone at least had fun.
Oh, I imagine the production of these was like a rootin' tootin' time. Like it looks like they were just having fun. Like they knew what they were doing. They're like, yeah, let's just hang out. Like we'll just hang out in the desert for a couple days and just shoot some silly shit and be done with it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's interesting how like the FMV is set up because it feels like it's all like one continuous video, but then like your actions will cut it kind of differently, you know? It's like you can see the cuts. You know what I mean? But like it has a surprising amount of consistency to it as far as like all the different sections and like, you know, how the editing and everything lining up is like surprisingly decent. But yeah, but it'll have like bullshit bits like in Mad Dog 2 when it cuts to like the priest or whatever. And like sometimes they'll have the gun and shoot you and other times they'll have the little parchment. And it's like that is total bullshit. Like that is absolute bullshit. But you have to remember these were arcade games, and arcade games notoriously are full of quarter-eating bullshit.
Yeah.
So this game it's really blatant, especially when you're playing it in a non-arcade setting.
Yep.
But you know, you deal with it.
I love that, like some of the logic too. Like you can tell, like this would only make sense in a shooter, like arcade shooter. But like when you're up on the hill and the guy like comes out of hiding, he's like, "Don't shoot, don't shoot!" And it's like, why did you
don't shoot? I just like to go through windows.
Yeah, like just like goofy stuff like that. Like
yeah, or like random like women would show up, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, like
that was a good woman you shot, and they're hard to find.
I always think of like the scene with like you're in the bar and you're up on that balcony, and then the lady in the white dress runs by, and of course you're so quick to shoot that you're like, "Oops."
Yeah, but you shoot the guy in the red jammies, and then he kicks the convenient gate open and does the flip.
Yeah, and it just goes
so good.
It goes Matrix time, and he just goes, "No."
Yeah, like like the stunts get progressively crazier as they go. Like dudes just like jumping off of buildings and like all this other crazy shit. Like like they do the cartwheels down the stairs and fly over, and it's just like guys, I know you're not getting paid enough to do this shit, you know. And there are no crash pads. Come on, this is the 90s. You're lucky to get like an elementary school gym mat on there, you know.
last football pads or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Last Bounty Hunter had by far all the explosions though that were so unnecessary, but I loved every single one of them.
Yeah, so many explosions. Like it might have been Last Bounty Hunter where it was I think it was Mad Dog 2 where it's like there's like that one dude who's sitting in like the little like weave basket, and then there's like the woman who comes out going, "Uncle, uncle." And then like there's a guy right behind her with like a gun and a dynamite, and you shoot him, and then he falls back in, and poof.
They're flexing that budget.
I didn't even shoot the dynamite. Why did he blow up?
It's like the outhouse. It's just you're like, why? But it's funny.
Why not? Why not? We're having
I
fun,
love
man.
how when the outhouse explodes,
and none of the explosions are. And like none of the explosions are impressive. Like not a single one. They're all very lame explosions. That's like at best they like found some fireworks and we're like, this will work. You know. But it fits with the low budget fun atmosphere, you know?
Oh, you know those guys were excited as heck the day that they were going to film the explosion scene.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's excited for it, and they brought their families on the set. And like, they're like, we're going to blow up an outhouse. And it was probably the coolest thing that week.
Shit, we got to order extra catering. We're blowing up the outhouse today.
Yeah. Some more Taco Bell, guys.
I will say, like, one of my favorite things, too, is, like, we were talking about how like the way it kind of transitions from scene to scene is really cool at times. Like it would be interesting in like certain levels. It would have kind of a standard stock like a rail shooter thing where like it would just kind of like you'd be on a still screen and they just pop up randomly. But then like other levels like the possum scene, you're like going through the camp and the camera pans with you, and it's just like
the camera's like it's moving, like it's a fucking John Woo movie, you know?
Yeah,
like it's just like one single shot.
It's like on a dolly. It's just it's a really cool effect.
It's not a dolly. It's a dude running.
It was
yeah,
but it was smooth enough that it like looked pretty good.
Well, they probably had like a steady cam because you can make like you can get like steady cam attachments to your body to where you can move and it won't move with you, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So. I love the fact too that you can tell like those were all like fake guns because like the amount of times they flash each other in the face, I'm just like, oh, and I'm like this is
oh yeah, like, yeah. They're definitely like prop guns for like I don't know, like Briscoe County or something.
I wouldn't even be shocked if they were just like cap guns they got at the party store. Probably.
Well, they don't have like the orange tips or anything like that, so like they look they look slightly authentic, like just authentic enough to where if you're not like a weird gun nut, they'll pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
oh, for sure. You know what? One of the things I thought was really cool about the game that I don't know if it gets enough credit, but it almost was like real-time loading. So even during the quick time sequences, when you would hit somebody, there'd be a slight pause, but it was like a time before loading screens became like everything. Everything was a loading screen. And I didn't get that kind of magic again until things like Resident Evil, where like sequences were still happening, but it was very clearly the loading screen. So I don't know. That was one thing that I thought was always really cool about that game, even though you'd see the pauses and the game would stutter while it was loading the next sequence. I always thought that was cool.
It must be smoother in the arcade. I don't know because
it was way smoother in the arcade
because it's on Laserdisc, and even though Laserdisc is like a giant CD, what a lot of people don't know, it's an analog format. Like it's not digital at all, so it has to be much smoother compared to say like on a CD or like a Wii DVD or Wii disc or whatever, where it will stutter a little bit. You know.
Yeah. That's why I'm really interested in trying out the Laserdisc version, because I think that one is the most true to the arcade. I mean, I think the PS3 version made it better because it upscaled and you get a full 720p. But
Mad Dog McCree released on the 3DS.
That's true too, and it was really touchscreen.
I feel like that would make it way too easy.
It's way easy, yeah.
So it's one of the strangest ports ever because they didn't even add any 3D. They just kind of like, here, it's on 3DS, have fun.
Use the touchscreen. And
not even like fake ass 3D. That would have been cool.
They didn't add anything.
iOS got a release back in 2011 or 2012, I think, too.
Oh, no Android port. Shit.
I know, and I can't find it now because when I read that, I was looking for. I was like,
"This would be probably been delisted." A lot of iOS, especially games, have been like delisted over the years. Like you remember around this time, the early 2010s, where game companies were like shit, phones are the future. We're just going to put our console games on mobile. That'll work, right? And obviously it didn't. And then a lot of them have been delisted now because it's like, who the fuck? Like, why? Like the idea of playing GTA 3 on my phone sounds cool, but then you play it and you're like, I don't like this.
But hey, if you want to play that GTA 3 port, you can just buy it on PlayStation Network because that's the version they put on PSN.
Yeah, at that point, just get the trilogy because at least it's a new version of it.
Yeah.
Or just emulate the PS2 version.
We were talking about the load times and like how it would load stuff. One thing I found very interesting, I was curious, so I pulled out my my FC1 out of retirement, and I just gave it a shot. I was like, I'm curious how this will run on FC1. So you know how the FC1 has the power light and then the read light?
Oh yeah. The FC10 does as well.
Yeah, on the FC1 though, it's like massive, and it like the way it works is it like blinks whenever the system reads. So when I was going through playing this game,
the FC10 it says ready and then access.
Yep, that's what the one has as well. It's just on the one, it's so big and like in your face that you kind of can't.
It was a solid green light, wasn't it?
Solid green and then solid pink, like watermelon colors.
Pink.
Yeah, but when I was playing this on the FC1, that thing was like struggling, and I was like, all right, I can only do like one level because I'm worried I'm gonna kill this thing. But the read light was like shining the entire time, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is one of those games.
Just constantly working.
Yeah, like it's a shame that it feels like the 3DO and probably by extension the Sega CD version are like the worst. It is on the CDI as well.
Oh,
CDI version is actually pretty good from what I've read. I haven't tried it yet, but I've heard that one's the closest to the Laserdisc version.
It's not so much the quality of the film; it's just more of like the act of playing the game is probably like, again, not the most fun. I mean, I know the CDI has that weird like DVD remote controller, but I don't know if that's like better or not. Like apparently this has a DVD release in the early 2000s, and I don't know if that's like, I don't know how you play a DVD game. No idea. Like yeah, it has a lot of weird ports. But yeah, again, I feel like playing those games without, say, the light gun or a Wii remote or a PlayStation Move or a mouse or something would just be like not really the way to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Demolition Man played better than the D-pad controls on 3DO did.
Yeah, I mean that game that was made with the 3DO in mind, you know, and that has at least enough variety that like it's a little different. And yeah, like the shoot 'em up stages in that, like, you know, that's just more of like a gallery shooter than like a light gun. Like it doesn't require a super fast reaction time. Yes. This game really wants like those cat-like reflexes at points, you know.
Well, I feel Demolition Man had a quicker cursor too, like
it did.
Yeah, it didn't feel terrible to control.
Quicker.
Yeah, they were also very lenient with you in Demolition Man. Like this game is not lenient at all.
One hit, you're dead.
One hit, dead.
One fucking hit.
That's my
at least Demolition
line
Man gives you a life bar.
Yeah, my favorite line from Dan in the Game Grumps playthrough. Aaron's like, one hit, really? He's like, yes, Aaron, that's what a gun does.
That's how bullets work.
Yeah.
45 long Colt. That's a bad round right there.
I mean, I imagine if you get shot with a revolver from that era, one hit's enough to bring you down.
Yeah.
Most likely.
I mean, I don't want to be shot with the taser, much less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
So, going into reception, it is very all over the place.
Yeah, don't say.
Oh boy.
Because you know, like those weird fucking pretentious ass game reviewers were gonna give this game shit for being stupid.
The CGR. I watched the CGR Undertow review before we recorded this. And I was like, wow, guys, you were very harsh. Like, I get it, but ooh.
Again, it's like it's just like, I don't know how game reviewers look at this game and then treat it like a serious product. You know what I mean? Like if you have issues with the gameplay, that's fair. I have those issues as well. But like, you can't tell me you're like watching this and not being like, this is so fucking stupid, but this is kind of cool. Like it's not meant to be taken seriously at all. You know, like people giving, say, like Night Trap or Corpse Killer shit for that, like I totally get it. But here it's like I don't at all.
No. The gameplay is so harmless in like every way, and honestly, you're just watching a comedy. Like that's like the real appeal of these games.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm not going to go over every review score, but I would like to share some of the game rankings where the PC version got a wonderful 32%. The 3DO version got a 55. The DVD port, they actually rated that, got a 34. The Wii got a 35. The 3DS got a 27. And the PS3 version actually got a 60, which I'm amazed by. There's one review.
It's that Sony bias, man.
It's the nostalgia.
So Electronic Games gave the DOS version 92. So that's interesting.
Hell yeah.
There's one review for the arcade version, which was from Sinclair User. They gave it an 85. CDI Magazine gave the CDI version an 87.
CDI Magazine.
Yeah.
The fact that so I thought I laughed at 3DO Magazine. The fact that there's a CDI Magazine, that's just funny to me.
That's crazy. I want that. I want those back issues.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's in the Internet Archive.
I'll have to see the hotel. What is it? Hotel Mario or Hotel Link or whatever.
Yeah, Hotel Mario, and then the Unholy Triforce.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Zelda's Adventure, The Wand of Gamelon, and the Faces of Evil.
Yep. And
the
then
title on it says, "We got away with it, guys."
Yeah.
I would say if you want to play those Zelda games, but like a good version of them with tongue firmly in cheek, I recommend Arzette, the Jewel of Faramore.
Okay.
Like it's literally they took the 2D CDI Zelda games, like copied the same like format, but actually made a good game out of it. And it
Oh,
retains all the weird production quips and humor and all that. It is genuinely an amazing game. I played it earlier this year. Highly
nobody gets
recommend.
sued.
No, well, it's not like ripping from Nintendo at all directly.
No, I know. No, I mean,
And Nintendo's never going to acknowledge those games. They
Yeah.
refuse. Like,
Oh.
like imagine like it would. Yeah, I could do the funniest thing, and that's buy enough Nintendo stock to get into a shareholders meeting, and then ask them, "Are you ever going to port those CDI Zelda games to Switch?" And
And they'll
just be
say,
like,
and
no,
they'll say,
they'll say no comment.
they'll say, no, sir, but we'll have the music on our Nintendo streaming.
Yeah. Hey,
Those
music-
soundtracks aren't bad.
Tony,
Oh,
They're
Tony-
not bad.
Tony Trippy was the composer, and I love that name.
Tony Trippy.
Tony Trippy.
Surprised
At
this
least-
wasn't Tommy Tallarico.
Well, can we do
Might
the 3 degrees of separation now? Tony Trippy, Trip Hawkins, or
There you go.
So, for the final part of the episode, we got to do our classic must play, okay, stay away. I figure we'll do one for each game.
Okay.
Why not? So I get more content. If I was gonna,
Engagement, social media engagement.
pretty much, gotta get those blue sky numbers up. Anyhow, if I was gonna rank the three of them, I'd say Mad Dog 1 probably an okay. Mad Dog 2 probably also an okay. I would say I'd call The Last Bounty Hunter a must play though, just because that game legit got laughs out of me like multiple times.
Yeah, like that's how I would rank them from like worst to best. So I think they all get progressively better over time in terms of like how funny they are. I mean, if I were to be stupid, they're all fucking must plays. Like they're all absolutely worth your time. Though if you are gonna play these games, yeah, try to either play like the Wii version or the PS3 version. Though you probably can't get it nowadays. I don't know. Is it still on the PS3 digital store?
I'd have to go check because I bought it years ago, like when I was curious, so I just had it.
Yeah,
I mean, I checked the store though.
Well, I can say this: the Wii version, when I bought it, I think I spent like $20 on this.
Yeah,
which
it's
is not.
Yeah,
it's not. So if you still have your Wii lying around and you want to play them, like I would recommend that, or you could just get them on like was it PS or you get them on PC for free probably. Just play them that way. This has gone up apparently. Apparently it's now like $50 on Wii. Sorry guys.
really?
Yeah,
I bought
according to
that
eBay, I just looked at
$5.
it. It's like somebody selling it for $60.
Wow.
On Wii. I wouldn't pay $60 for it. I would,
No.
look elsewhere. But I think they're all worth playing genuinely. But yeah, the one I think that was the most that had the most entertainment overall was The Last Bounty Hunter. Like that was probably the one that was the most enjoyable overall, but I liked all three of these games. You know, they're not masterpieces by any stretch of the imagination, but I had a blast playing these games. I had fun. And that's really all that matters at the end of the day with games. Are you having fun? And if you are, then it did its job.
That's all that matters. That's it. All right. Well, I'm going full cowboy hat on this one.
Yeehaw.
I'm going must play all three of them.
Nice.
Yeehaw, brother. I love it.
Oh boy. So yeah, the Mad Dog trilogy, that was way more fun than I thought it was going to be. Honestly, just watching these just for the videos themselves is worth it like entirely. And if you do want to collect the 3DO versions for whatever reason, they're not that bad. Like I think I paid like 30 I'm confused. Like 30 for this one and like 20 for this one. So that's not terrible for complete in box 3DO
Yeah.
games.
I can't recommend playing them on 3DO because they probably don't play all that well.
No, they really don't. But
but that's the territory with like light gun games.
Now, if you have,
it's like if you got House of the Dead Overkill for the Wii, would you play that with the Wii mode or the classic controller? You know what I mean?
Mode, yeah,
Exactly, the Wii remote.
I will say, if you have a CRT TV lying around and you have the light gun, these might be worth it.
100%. Yeah.
I do have a CRT hiding in the garage, but I don't really have any place to set it up. So unfortunately, I can't. But I mean, in that case, I would just play fucking Time Crisis. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've started the lovely American Laser Games collection, and yes, in the future we will cover, because just about every game they did got ported to 3DO, like Who Shot Johnny Rock, Space Pirates, both Crime Patrol games. There's another game they did called Fast Draw Showdown, which did not come out on 3DO. Was a WiiWare title in 2010, but obviously I can't get that anymore. And then there was some other games they did, a game called Gallagher's Gallery. You know, the comedian Gallagher, for those who don't know who Gallagher I'm referring to. The guy his whole shtick was smashing watermelon. Somehow that made him famous. I don't get it, but whatever, right?
You know what I just realized that like kind of drives me nuts? They use the same exact picture.
I mean, it's the same guy in both games.
Yeah.
It's the same guy.
It's the same exact picture, though. They just photoshopped it.
They put all the work into the title there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's the same guy. So
it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's the same guy.
And an interesting Easter egg when you're playing the game, if you happen to see any like skulls with like blue targets on them, if you shoot them, it doubles your ammo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And I think it's in the professor section in Mad Dog 2. There's like a Mad Dog McCree sign hanging in the background for some reason.
Oh, that's cool.
So yeah. Yeah, and they also did another game called Shootout at Old Tucson, which I guess had a limited arcade release, was supposed to get a 3DO version, but never did. So they have a short library of games, but I intend to beat every single one of these that I can get my hands on. Because I need more, especially the Crime Patrol games.
Oh, I love that.
Oh boy, these are going to be prime material, and I look forward to it.
I need more camp in my life. So.
Oh gosh.
Oh yes, like this '90s fucking camp. I live for the shit. It's so good.
Best. I think Johnny Rock's still my favorite of all of them, but
I haven't played it. So
oh, you haven't? Oh
no, I haven't played any of these other games. I haven't played
Yeah.
Space Pirates or anything, but I will intend to play all these. I mean, we'll play them all for the show.
That 20 Gangsters camp is just best.
No, I can't.
Best.
I cannot wait. These will be so good.
Nice.
Guys, you're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can't wait. That being said, though, before we sign off, Casey, I know you had said you were getting back into streaming. Do you want to like plug your stuff before we go?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I am getting back. It's funny because Bill actually hit me up about the show, like right as I was like dusting off all my stuff. So I'm still getting back into it. But Desert Level Gaming is my channel. I'm on Twitch and YouTube, but mostly will be on Twitch. I will be playing some 3DO titles for sure. And maybe hopefully some future titles that might grace the show, but and some old ones. So if you want to see some Mad Dog or something else, just I'll play anything. But also trying to work down my backlog because I feel like I'm just so far behind in games right now. So Desert Level Gaming on Twitch, easy to find. So thanks.
Nice.
You just got a new follower in me.
I gotta make sure I did because I don't know if I have or not. I'll do that after this. But that being said, once again, guys, thank you for joining us on. I almost said gaming collecting. This isn't gaming collecting. On the 3DO experience. The 3DO experience can be found.
Alex is under the table.
No, she's probably at home sleeping on the couch, knowing her. But once again, thank you for joining us. You can find us on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network. That is superpodnetwork.com. Wonderful site where you can find a whole bunch of different shows, videos, blogs. We're about to begin a series of blogs covering our favorite Super Nintendo games, so that'll be fun. And also be sure to check out all the different shows over on the network, including Superpod Saga, Super Ghost Radio, Retro Rehab, Tommy's Video Game Ride Along, A Novel Console, Bar Silence, Fine Time, The Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, Remember 64, Gaming Together, Friday Night Gamecast, and of course our 3 shows, Gaming and Collecting, the 3DO Experience, Geek Addicts, and of course the Retro Wildlands and Press B to Cancel. And with that, everybody, once again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you all later.
Bye-bye.